This is a meeting of the Dartmouth Town Planning Board on April 7th, opening the meeting up at 7:01 p.m. This meeting is being recorded. And we'll give Lori
Wait,
a couple minutes before we
yeah,
jump
we're
in.
waiting for you. Yeah, go ahead. Kevin, that was Laurie. She called me and she's
Okay.
having a hard time getting on Zoom. It keeps kicking her out. So she said to start the meeting without her and she'll try to get in, but she's having a hard time.
All right. Great. So in terms of the meeting and the package, we have start the meeting with a roll call vote. Let's start with Nick.
Here.
Elio,
Here.
Margaret,
Here,
and Kevin Estes is here as the vice chair. For the purpose of this meeting, I'll be running as the chairperson, filling some big shoes today. Item number one. I'm sorry.
Kevin Mello wished us luck. Spoke with him this morning.
Oh, good.
Mr. Chair, may I make a
Yes.
suggestion that we move some items around to see if Laurie can come back, can get on here? The election of board and other appointments, can we maybe do that a little later, move it down in the agenda?
Sure. Sure, it's a good idea.
That's okay with the board.
Of course.
No issue.
Great. Let's address issue, jump then to administrative item number 2, approval not required for 0 Collins Lane. And Dan, do you want to walk us through this?
Sure. This is application PANR 25-2 on the portal, also known as Assessors Map 75, Lot 5-1. This plan is eligible for endorsement under section 1.103 of the Dartmouth subdivision regulations. Creations of parcels without the required frontage, as long as a parcel is created are labeled non-buildable and the reason is listed on the plan. So this lot, if you can see on the plan in your packet, subdivides the existing map 75 lot 5-1 into lots 2-1 and 2-2. 2-2 is considered non-buildable unto itself. There's a note on the plan, and the intention is to have it conveyed to an abutting parcel. Lot 2-1 is listed as non-buildable until such time planning board approves a roadway improvement plan. This lot does abut on Collins Lane, but for the section that this lot would be in front of, Collins Lane does not have adequate width, grade, and construction to be considered a buildable lot. I conferred both with the zoning enforcement officer and fire chief for this district to confirm those situations, but they are both listed as non-buildable lots and the reason, so this plan will be eligible for endorsement.
So the resulting parcel will be non-buildable as well, right?
Correct, as of today, until we do a street determination plan to provide adequate width, grade, and construction.
Okay. To quote my predecessor, what is the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion that we, sorry. go ahead.
I'm sorry, do we have any discussion points before we move to vote?
No,
Okay, if there aren't, go ahead, Margaret.
I would just say that, I don't have any problems because if that lot 2-1 wants to become buildable, then they have to come before this board again. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
So then at that I have no problem, so I would make a motion to approve.
Okay, so I believe I have a motion from Margaret Sweet. Do I have a second?
Second,
Is that Nick Cyclepatis?
yes.
Second, okay, Margaret Sweet,
Yes,
Nick Cyclepatis,
Yes.
Helio Rosa,
Yes.
and Kevin Estes, yes.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
before we get to the next item, Margaret, did you see the note on the chat for Lori?
no, I don't, I did not see the note on the chat.
Yeah, Margaret, this is John Silva from DCTV. I just shared the info for someone to call into the meeting instead of logging in with Zoom at their computer. So if you are able to send her a message.
I did send her a message already to try to use her phone, but now I'm
Okay.
gonna call, gentlemen, okay? So I'm not being rude, but she didn't pick up. I did try to tell her that. But she has not picked up, so I'm gonna call.
All right, so we will wait.
Just, Mr. Chair, while I'm waiting, for the next two items, item number 3 and item number 4,
Yes,
I would, recommend for Russ, will be handling those two. These two were, discussed prior to me becoming on the board. He's familiar with it and has been handling these two. So I'm just gonna recommend to have Russ speak on both of those, and he's prepared to speak on both of them.
your recommendation is accepted. Ross, are you okay with that?
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. I was talking to Laurie. She's gonna try her phone.
okay.
Was that
Uh,
was that something I needed to hear, Kevin?
Just that Dan, both of these two items were discussed prior to Dan's
Oh, right, yes,
hiring, and
Right.
he is deferring to
right,
Ross
Ross,
on
right,
these two items.
okay. Mhm.
Ross, would you like to
Yep.
talk to item number 3 on our agenda?
Yes, so this
Approval
is,
not required.
yes, so this is approval not required, PANR 24-9, located at 1 Stone Ledge Road. This was an A&R that was approved at the October 7th, 2024 Planning Board meeting. This was the A&R that included the stipulation that one of the lots be labeled not a buildable lot until the planning board approves a roadway improvement plan. So very similar to the A&R that just went through. They went before land court. This one is registered land, and they were required to put in some very small revisions. So this is essentially a revision to that previously approved A&R plan. The previous one was not recorded, so essentially they had to add a couple small measurements to the plan for monuments. So it still satisfies 1.103 of the subdivision regulations that states that creation of parcels without the required frontage, as long as the parcels created are labeled non-buildable, and the reason is noted on the plan. So it's just a revision to the previously approved A&R from the October 7th, 2024 meeting.
Okay, are there any questions from the board?
I have one comment, Mr. Chair. Ross,
Yeah.
just for record's sake, can you clarify what the revisions were to the plan? They're not clouded
Yes.
on the drawing packet that I received, so just for
Okay.
record.
Sure. So there are very small monument measurements in the corners. The frontage and the actual land area of both of the lots are not changing at all. So they're probably, I'm trying to remember, I believe they're in the corners of the proposed lots. There are small, very small little measurements that are labeled now that weren't before.
Got it. Okay.
Did I hear somebody join, and was it Lori?
I'm gonna call her again.
Okay. Are there any other questions of the board?
None for me.
Okay. I would like to get a response back from Margaret before we vote on this, just to make sure she doesn't have any questions.
I have no problem with this the way it is.
Great. The pleasure of the board.
Make a
I'll make a
motion that we
motion.
approve it as revised.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Nick Psychopates and seconded by Helio Rosa. Nick,
Yes.
Helio,
Hold
Yes.
on a minute, please. Yes,
Margaret, was that a yes as a vote?
yes, yes. on the
Okay.
vote.
And Kevin Estes as chairperson, yes.
So,
Item number 4.
yep, so this is the OSRD entitled Golan Farms. The plans were approved at the October 21st, 2024 Planning Board meeting. Like I mentioned at the last meeting, at this point, they have indeed received denials from the Conservation Commission Select Board
Laurie?
and 2 of the 3 nonprofits from the published list of nonprofits to hold a conservation restriction. And the 3rd did not reply within the 30-day limit that the planning board spelled out on the published list. So that's taken as a denial. At this time, today, I did receive some comment from Town Council in regards to the submitted Homeowners Association Open Space Covenant and Performance Covenant. There are some revisions that Town Council would like to see that if the board is okay with, I can read into the record that would be conditions of approval prior to endorsement. So if the board would like to hear those, I can certainly read those in if that's something that they would be comfortable with, but there's no obligation.
I'll open that up for comments from the board.
My gut is
Reading-
that if you could read them in, it probably would be great from the perspective of transparency at this point in time, unless the rest of my board members feel otherwise.
Question for me, once we read these, I guess in part of this meeting, they become part of the record and we would waive the necessity of resubmitting the plans. Is that correct?
Essentially, if the board was open to these conditions, then the applicant would not have to wait for a future planning board meeting. And once we receive these revisions, then these documents would be eligible for endorsement. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you.
Okay. So it is okay if I read these in?
Ross, quick question for the board and for Kevin. To the contrary, if you don't read them in, we are going to wait for revised plans at a later date.
That would be the alternate, yeah. Yep.
I'll ask another question if I can, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Does the applicant have a burden if we chose to wait for a future planning board?
There at the couple meetings ago, there was a Board of Health restrictive covenant that was pending. That has a 30-day deadline to record. I spoke with the Board of Health director today that has a 30-day deadline to record. That would be early 20s of April, and our next meeting is not until April 28th. So that is a potential risk that would result. And if I do read these in, there's no obligation that the board has to agree to them either. It's just
Mr.
if you
Chair?
wanted to hear them.
Mr. Chair, can I
ahead,
make a
Hugh.
recommendation?
Yes, Helio.
We could have Ross read and make him part of the record, and the board can then determine whether it's satisfactory to approve based on those conditions or not.
I make one comment and I'll wait until Ross has read them in. But I don't like to approve plans, as you all know, that are not accurate. I really don't.
I tend to agree with you, Margaret.
I mean, I'm sure that he can get an extension from conservation. And I like the plans to be accurate and, you know, that's my,
From well, I'll wait until everybody else is
I'm on board with that.
I just from a sake of maintaining absolute transparency, I try to avoid administrative closures unless it really speeds something along, and time would be critical. So I would prefer getting a full application that's got everybody's blessing and ready to go.
Okay.
I will not object to that.
so should we make a,
Procedurally, then we're just we're not voting on this item, are we?
make a motion to continue? Is that what we need, Ross?
Yes, that would be the motion, yeah.
Margaret or Mr. Chair?
Oh.
Yes.
Before we entertain the motion, I'd like to have Ross read what the conditions would be, if that's okay.
Sure. Provided it's not considered part of the application now.
Agreed.
Okay. So I had sent these via email this afternoon, probably around 4:30-ish. So I'll start with the open space covenant, paragraph 7 through 9. Each reference that is referenced as the town should just be revised to say the town of Dartmouth. Paragraph 8 has the word inshore. It should be enshore with an E. Paragraph 9 says the phrase that is, quote, the zoning bylaws section 375-11-8B3C, end quote, should be replaced with, quote, paragraph 8 of this covenant, end quote. And paragraph 10 of the open space covenant should be revised to the following, quote, none of the provisions of this covenant that are required by section 375-11.8B3 of the Dartmouth zoning bylaw in effect at the time of approval of this covenant by the Dartmouth Planning Board, including without limitation, paragraphs 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, and 10, shall remain amended, revised, deleted, or otherwise contradicted by any terms that may be added in the future, end quote. So those would be the few, I think there are 4 total revisions to the open space covenant. And now to the HOA document. Article 4, each reference to the town, again, should be revised to the town of Dartmouth. Article 4, paragraph 5 is a sentence. There's a sentence that was revised but is now unclear. There is a sentence that is missing that I've spoken to the Board of Health Director since then, as advised by Town Council, who the Board of Health Director would be okay with that sentence being removed in its entirety because it references a drainage parcel or a drainage structure, which is not going to be a structure in this case because there is an entire drainage parcel that is separate from parcel A, which is where they hold the restrictive covenant. Paragraph 7 of Article 4, again, inshore should be enshore. Article 4, paragraph 8, once again, the same, the phrase zoning bylaws, section 375-11.8B3C should be replaced with paragraph 7 of this Article 4. Article 4, paragraph 9 should be revised to the following. None of the provisions of this trust that are required by section 375-11.8B3 of the Dartmouth zoning bylaw in effect at the time of approval of this covenant by the Dartmouth Planning Board, including without limitation, this Article 4 shall be amended, revised, deleted, or otherwise contradicted by any terms that may be added in the future. And the performance covenant should reference the nitrogen loading easement in Article 4 that was also referenced in the open space covenant, just for transparency and for reference. And then lastly, Article 4, there's a bit that is kind of confusing between enforcement and prohibited activities. And Town Council recommended a way to fix this. That is as follows. The first sentence of Article 4, there should be deletion of quotes whereby the following activities are prohibited, end quote, and replace it with quote as follows, end quote. And then for transparency, they put no at the beginning of each paragraphs 1 through 4. That would be not allowed, to make sure that it is very clear. So those are the revisions that were recommended to make by town council.
It's a pretty decent list.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple that are repetitive between each document, but yes.
Are there any other questions from the board? Is anybody ready to make a motion?
I'd like to make,
Motion, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to extend this until April 28th.
Continue.
Continue.
I have a motion from Margaret
Motion, sorry, second.
and a second from Nick. Margaret,
Yes,
Nick,
Yes.
Helio,
Yes.
is Lori joined yet?
no, she has not. I'm still trying to help her.
Okay. And Kevin as chairman votes yes. All right, so the next item. Preliminary item number 5. Dan, are you back on board now?
Yes.
Okay,
this
would you like to discuss item number 5, please?
Sure. This is a conceptual discussion for a 55 plus community located at 813 State Road, also known as Assessors Map 163, Lot 63. This is in the general business zoning district, so a over 55 development is allowed via a special permit. So this is a little bit different from some of the other 55 plus communities, as this isn't just a standalone apartment building or one building, one structure site with associated parking. This is laid out as the majority duplexes, one single unit. These are allowed under Article 18 in the general business district via the special permit to be freestanding single buildings or multi-unit. So that is something that the board could approve under the special permit. Also, the way it's laid out, you see it's more of an access road as opposed to a parking facility. And then the parking spaces for each unit will be provided either in a garage or a parking space in front of it. Again, this is allowed under the stipulations for the special permit, and the planning board is allowed to have the plan submitted for the over 55 as the off-street parking plan if all the requirements are met, which they would, 2 parking spaces per residential unit. With that, I believe the applicant's engineer is here to further discuss this proposal. Some of the items that would make this slightly different from some of the other permits, I think this would need some kind of homeowners association that would handle, because utilities would be private, drainage private, what to do with the open space. This lot is also in the aquifer protection district, so they're limited on lot coverage, which they are meeting the requirements without needing any kind of relief from the zoning board of appeals. So those are some of the items that we'd be addressing. If it didn't go to site plan review, that kind of negates the need for landscaping plans, lighting plans, and when you see the plan, I think you get a gauge on what I'm talking about, and hopefully we can get some feedback from the board on their thoughts on this project. But like I said, I believe the applicant's engineer is here, so I think it is best to have him go into a little more detail for the board's benefit.
Okay, and just for clarity's sake, this is a preliminary discussion and not an application that we're voting on tonight. Is that correct?
Correct.
Great. Who is the engineer?
Good evening, Jamie Bissonette with Zenith Consulting Engineers.
Hello, Jamie. How are you?
Good, yourself?
I'm doing very well. Thanks.
Appreciate you taking some time tonight to hear from us. We met a couple of weeks ago with Dan and Ross and kind of going over the plan, and they felt it'd be good to come in front of the board and show you guys what we're planning or what we're proposing to get some feedback, because like Dan said, it's a little bit different than what is traditionally done. We're talking about multiple buildings. It's an over 55 concept, and it is a special permit. So obviously working with the planning board is critical on a project like this. If you don't mind, I'd like to share my screen so I can show you the plans, kind of talk about it. Again, we understand that this is really, really preliminary, and we're hoping for guidance, opinions from the board, understanding nothing's official, it's not a vote, but just want to make sure we're heading in the right direction so that we get a product at the end that everybody's happy with. So if that's okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to share my screen.
Please do.
All right, thank you. Host has to enable.
DCTV, would you please allow Mr. Bissonette? Thank you.
Yes, should
You
be all set.
able to go. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. All right, can everyone see this?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, so like Dan had mentioned, I'm going to slide over just a little. This is located on Route 6. We are just next door to, this is the Dunkin' Donuts at the corner of Reed Road. And this is on the easterly side of Reed Road and southerly side of Route 6. So the plan's turned about 90 degrees. This is actually a used car dealership here. You'll see kind of in the grade area, this is pavement, and this is where the majority of the vehicles are parked. And then there's a billboard that's over in this vicinity here. So when you're driving by, you'll see the billboard, you'll see the building. And then you'll see some open land further up Route 6. As Dan had mentioned, we're proposing 15 total units, 7 duplex buildings for a total of 14 units, and then we have this single dwelling. This meets the lot coverage for the Aquifer 3 Protection District, which is maxed out at 10%, plus we can infiltrate the roofs, which we're going to do to gain some additional lot coverage. There is a isolated wetland up here that falls within the park area. This has been looked at by conservation at one point under our request for determination, and I believe the resource area has been locked in. Obviously, any type of jurisdictional area will deal with Mark and the Conservation Commission. We have no issue with that at all. As far as coverage is concerned, and conformance with zoning, while we're meeting the coverage requirement, we're also providing enough parking spaces. Each one of these units will have an internal parking space and at least one external parking space. We're providing this would actually, while it looks like a roadway, because of the ownership, this would be really a driveway. This would not have any type of burden on the town, as this would all remain private and be put into an association for the property owners to maintain. This does meet the requirements for safety at the end. I believe this is the standard cul-de-sac turning radius down the end here, and we're showing a landscape area in here now. And we have 25-foot radii out onto Route 6. The width itself is 24 feet, which is ample to be able to maneuver up and down. So we think that this will flow very nicely. I have a secondary sheet that I will show you. We took a stab at doing some preliminary grading. What we found was, while we do have ledge and rock on a lot of the site, we did some test holes and found that we have extremely good material up in the front here. So for stormwater, the majority of the site pitches forward towards Route 6. That's obviously a problem. What we'll be doing is we'll be picking up all of that and infiltrating it into the basin, which we will work with DPW, Paul Duart and Tim, to make sure that they're comfortable with the drainage design here. We feel pretty good with the soils that we found out here, and we have plenty of room to be able to construct a nice basin. I think that's going to actually improve things, because right now sheet flow just goes out into the state layout. So overall, I think that we have a nice product as far as the over 55, which is definitely a need in the community. And we'll also be improving stormwater and the drainage situation out into Route 6. So I think we have a couple of nice things to offer for the town here, and we're hoping that the board will support us with our special permit and moving forward on this application.
Is it okay, Jamie, Mr. Bissonette, to open up to questions of the board?
Please do.
Okay, guys, do you have any questions for Mr. Bissonette?
I actually have a question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
With all due respect to the plan, I'm only curious, was there any opportunity or was it considered to have a one-way in perhaps on the most westerly corner of the lot, maybe just beyond the infiltration basin, and then another exit on the most easterly? Again, I think this is a great plan. My only curiosity is with cars slowing down to turn in and cars at a stop getting ready to turn out and head easterly, and the light being green only about 100 some odd yards away, what does that really mean, quite frankly, for traffic and so on, and safety? And again, if it was thought of and not possible based on grade, et cetera, I understand. I'm just curious.
No, to be honest with you, I don't think that was considered. And it is something that we'll look at. I'm going to make a note of it. Once we get to this point in here is where we really start running into the rock in the back and the topographic challenges. So there is the potential for having a one-way out here and a one-way in down here. So that is something that we can look at, and we'll see if it will work and if it provides a better sight distance and a better stopping sight distance time. So thank you for the suggestion.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I can.
Elio?
Yeah, just mostly comments. And I hear what Nick is saying, and I think that level of consideration from a traffic flow is appropriate to at least come back to the board with of what the considerations were, what the burdens might be of that consideration. I would also say we'd have to be mindful of the traffic coming in and out of the Dunkin'
Yes.
right there on Route 6 and what impact that would have, of cars queuing or potentially slowing down in that area. But I think that level of consideration should still be approached and conveyed to the board what the pros and cons would be. A few other things, mostly curiosity, I think, at this point. One, is that billboard staying?
So the billboard has a lease that is in existence for, I believe, at least a year or two more. It is my understanding from the client that once the lease is done and he is able to exit that lease, that he's going to do that. And so that is something that he and his attorney are working on. We will, when we file with the board officially, I'll have much more detailed information on the billboard.
Okay. That obviously would not speak of a residential occupancy with something like that in the front. But again, I know that there's legal contractual obligations. There's reference to the architecture of the space, and I'm sure, and the hope is that once these buildings are fully conceived and designed, they'll be architecturally appropriate for a residential development. Along that line, I also see that the building separation distances, 11 feet, 12 feet, 11, soon 11 and 12. I see a 13-foot separation between two of the buildings. I would just also come back to the board about what the fire separation distance would need to be from a building code standpoint and what the architectural implications are. I know when you have buildings that are close together, you're limited on the amount of fenestration, windows and openings and such, and the construction type tends to be a little bit more restrictive, which may impact the design of the architecture itself. So I know you have, and the desire is to fit, X number of buildings to accommodate X number of residents here, but I would just be prepared on that analysis of what that separation might ultimately mean on the architecture side. And then lastly, and we don't have anything to comment on, but I would also be mindful of what the landscaping approach will be for this property, particularly as it fronts on Route 6 and
Yes.
the abutment to the Duncan. I know you're starting to get a little bit restrictive with that retention pond, but I would be prepared to make sure that that's carefully thought through and we be mindful of what the requirements are. And that's
Understood.
all
Yeah,
I got.
I appreciate the comments. I agree, and so does my client, that the landscaping is going to be critical, especially between Route 6 and the project. I think it can be done tastefully, and in a manner that helps visually and also with sound. So yes, that will be really looked at. And I do appreciate the fire rating. One of the team members on this is actually a house designer. And so I'll relay the message to him and make sure that he gets that, understands that that's part of the concern. So thank you.
Yeah, those requirements are applied differently from 1 and 2 family dwellings than they are for a development like this. So just be mindful of it so that we don't end up creating something that looks more commercial and industrial looking than residential because of the fire separation requirements.
Understood.
I have one question. Are you going to have any areas outside for them? For instance, some sitting areas, some amenities that way?
Yeah, so the thought process is that we want to do two things. We want to provide exclusive use areas, obviously the driveways, or the immediate area around the buildings, including the backyard and either the decks or the patios. But also, we want to have some community areas as well. So there's been some discussion, and again, we're still in the beginning stages of this, but there's been discussion about bocce courts, or things along those lines. So picnic tables, areas that you can sit with swings, something like that. We're trying to really get an idea of what we think will be best suited for this area and where. And the nice part is that we won't have a problem with providing that and interfering with the aquifer protection regulations, because it would all be pervious area. So it's kind of a win-win for the community and for us with lot coverage in the aquifer.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Bissonnette, if I may,
Yes, sir.
can you just reaffirm to me, are you going to be tying into sewer or septic?
Well, the hope is to tie into sewer. I do know that there's some concerns in State Road that has been brought to our attention by Dan. So we do have to look into that. That being said, the intention is to tie into sewer here, and also tie into water, municipal water, and handle all stormwater on site.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the Aquifer Overlay Protection District, if there's a way that it can be done, the tying into the sewer would be better.
Understood. I think that is definitely our intention. We have to meet with DPW and make sure that it's viable.
Are there any other comments that were questions for Mr. Bissonnette?
Mr. Chair, if I could just add one comment.
Sure.
One of the conditions to approve the special permit for the over 55 projects, it does have to be served by town water and sewer. So that is one of the requirements for the board to issue a special permit.
Okay. Thank you for adding that, Dan.
And in regards to what Mr. Rosa was commenting about the building setups, I have been in contact with the zoning enforcement officer asking similar questions to that, so he has this on his radar, so when you have a more substantial plan, it'll definitely be reviewed by him and the local fire chief, so that is
Okay.
something that's taken care of in that regards.
Thank you.
Dan and Ross, you guys have already had a discussion with Mr. Bissonnette, as that was my impression at the beginning here. But I'll still give you the opportunity to ask any questions, since this he's making a great inroad here to gain information and understand the pleasure of the board before he goes and starts to lay things out.
Yes, the only other thing I would mention is this is for the town's master plan, providing another source of over 55 housing is one of the staples of that. So this does fall within something the town is looking for. It appears that most of the requirements are available for this site. So I think it's a good project for the planning board to take a close look at, and I'm glad the engineer had a chance to hear some of the comments. So hopefully it'll
Oh, yeah,
help
he
him in his design
tells me
process.
something else, because if it's your phone.
I mean, I have pictures of everybody.
Okay, so I believe that we've got
I gotta get off.
everybody's comments so far, Mr. Bissonnette. I applaud you for bringing this as an item of discussion to the board first, so there are no surprises. And I would also just mention to refer to the architectural standards, since you're just starting out, about what the actual units look like and how they fit into the town.
All right, excellent. Thank you. I really appreciate your time tonight.
We appreciate yours as well. Thank you very much for bringing it to us.
All right, have a great night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thanks,
Good night.
Jim.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Laurie is in and she can listen to us, but she can't speak. So I've just put a note in there, and hopefully maybe DCTV can give us some advice, because she is watching, she can hear everything, but it's not letting her speak. Is that something maybe DCTV has got to?
Yeah, I'll dial in and give it a look myself. I've only
Okay.
been hosting meetings from this side, but if it's not just simply unmuting your handset, unmuting your phone, I'll see what options it gives when I dial in. I'll update in the
Okay.
chat.
Thank you.
Margaret, sorry, really quick. Did you mention to her that it sometimes asks you to join with computer audio?
Oh, no, I did not.
Depending on the version, it may have said join with computer audio.
Well, she's
I
on
get
her
that,
phone.
Frank.
She's on her phone. She's not on her
Okay.
computer,
Okay, sorry. Okay,
because she can't get it on the computer. So she's using her phone.
understood.
well, if she's here and she can't object to anything, we can probably sign her up for a lot of things.
Sounds good.
It's how I got to be the chairperson of the broadband committee.
Good, Kevin.
Are we holding off DCTV to see if we can't salvage Lori's connection?
Feel free to go on. I'll just update in the chat, or I'll message. I suppose I'll message you, Margaret. If not,
Okay.
I'll just message all actually. But feel free to
Okay.
continue. You don't have to wait up for me.
Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate your efforts. Okay, so moving on to item number 6, the minutes from the March 24th, 2025 meeting.
Motion made to acknowledge and file.
I have a motion from Nick Psychopedes to acknowledge and file. Do I have a second?
Second.
Helio Rosa has seconded the motion. And Nick,
Yes.
Helio,
Yes.
Margaret,
Yes,
and Kevin, yes. Correspondence, item number 7 on the agenda. Dan, do you want to speak to the correspondence?
That's something that the board usually addresses if they have any comments on.
Okay,
I'm not sure if anybody has any.
I
Are
say
there any?
motion and file.
Was that a motion, Margaret?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I have a motion to acknowledge and file for Margaret,
Second.
seconded from, was that Nick?
Yes.
Okay, Margaret
Yes,
and Nick,
Yes.
Helio,
Yes.
and Kevin, yes. Okay, so for your information, old business and new business. Dan, you want to talk about the incoming zoning board applications? Is there anything going on that we need to know about?
Nothing pertaining to our board. The only application that's been new since the last meeting was for a pool house. It's connecting
Okay.
water to a pool house, so nothing of concern for the board. The one that we had
Does the
discussed,
pool house have a pool?
from what I remember, it did.
Good.
I'd have to go back to confirm, but I'm pretty sure. The only previous zoning board of appeals application that we discussed was on Autumn Court and Harvest Avenue. There was an issue with access onto Harvest Ave, which wasn't allowed under the original subdivision plan. They modified those plans, so there is no access now onto Harvest Ave, and that was approved by the zoning board. So just an update on previous zoning applications that we discussed.
Okay. And subcommittee reports. Has anybody had any subcommittee meetings that they want to review and discuss?
Not
All
here.
right. I'll move on to the planner's report.
Only a few items in regards to planning department reports. The Zoom report was extended for 2 years. I think those were forwarded to all the board members. So we are allowed to continue the meetings as we've been having them for at least the next 2 years. There's also talk at the State House of changing the Mass General laws to allow them going forward indefinitely. So that's still on the House floor, but as of right now, we can still do it for another 2 years without any interruption into the current format. One thing we spoke before the latest election was appointing someone to the Housing Production Plan Stakeholder Committee. I spoke with Mr. Rosa about it. I believe he was willing to take on this responsibility, but we wanted to wait until after the election before we committed to that. So that would be up to the board if that's still the intent of both the board and Mr. Rosa to become the planning board representative to that committee.
Okay. Well, I know that neither, well, Lori can't hear us, but congratulations to both Helio and Lori on your tightly contested election.
Thank you. It was a darn burden.
Well, Laurie can hear you. She just can't talk.
Right.
So it is
Um,
congratulations to you too. It's nice, nice that you're on for 5 years, right? 5 years, Helio?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. And I
You're
think
stuck with me for a
Laurie's
little
on
longer.
for 3.
Great. All right, well, we have one item left. Is there a way to communicate with Lori so she can cast a vote on election of board officers and other appointments?
Mr. Chairman, I was the board going to appoint Helio to that committee, just so I can pass that on to the
If
town
that was
selectman's office.
agreed to in advance, absolutely, unless there's an objection or anybody else that wants to take it. I hear none, so
Congratulations, Helio.
congratulations.
Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck with that, Helio.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair, before we go on, can I share something?
Yes.
I realize tonight's meeting is compromised as in regards to Lori's connectivity and so on, but before we go any further, I know there's a lot of tension perhaps between us and another board or boards and or an outcome of a project that recently came before us as it relates to architectural standards, guidelines, and comments made. And I just want to plant the seed. It's not to be had tonight, but I'm hoping that in the near future, before more plans come before us, whereby architectural guidelines could be considered more significant than not from one site to another, that we perhaps address it within our board, what the consensus is, so we are more reflective or representative as a board of where we're headed with it. And then this might be too much for this meeting and perhaps too far, but I'm eager to speak with other members, perhaps of other boards, as to what direction we are taking as a town. I realize we're individual boards, but we're representative of the town of Dartmouth, and we're all here with good intent. And I would hate to know that there's contest or difficulty as it relates to one subject matter, such as the architectural guidelines. I'm keeping it simple. I know I'm taking a few minutes to discuss it, but I feel like it's an issue that we cannot just share in the form of a phrase, architectural guidelines, without having an idea of how we all feel. I'm happy to share more at another meeting, but I just want to put it on our radar that I think there's room for discussion and perhaps a consensus as to our feelings and how we're going to approach it moving forward. I know I'm being a little bit vague, but again, I just wanted to float it out there for any upcoming meetings where you can spend some time on it.
I would suggest that that might be even an agendized topic, something that actually hits the agenda as a topic of discussion. And I would also agree with you that it would be good to have some boards either formally or informally communicate and make sure everybody's on the same page with what is intended by the architectural standards that were approved by town meeting. And it's not like one board or another is enforcing them selectively. They are a architectural standard. And it's they were put there by town meeting.
Sure.
That's my understanding. So I fully support everything that you just said.
I appreciate that. I'll just finish with this. I'm highly conflicted by the phraseology of architectural standards, and thereby later hearing in the same discussion that they're only guidelines. We have to be clear of what we are proposing or what we expect of our applicants. And I feel like it's not as clear as it should be. And there's room, there's enough room for interpretation that one's plan might come close, but yet our interpretation could deny them and or the other way. I'm happy that you agree. I hope we can follow up with Ross and see it on our agenda in the near future.
I agree with you too, Nick. So I think that's a good plan to try to do something and check with the other boards. Laurie has a question, Mr. Chairman. Is it acceptable if she can hear you and she can see us when we vote on the boards, what planning board members going where? Is it okay if I can give her answer? Is that acceptable?
yes, as long as you make it very clear for, Ross, are you taking the minutes?
I am taking notes, and the minutes ultimately come from the video, so.
Okay, so what I'd really like to make sure is that it's absolutely clear that that you are when you're voting for your vote, as well as absolutely clear when you're voting for Lori's in her name instead. And I have no issue with it, and hopefully town council doesn't.
Well, I'm putting her on my speakerphone, so maybe that'll work better for you, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Okay, Laurie?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so we're
Great.
gonna try to vote.
Lori,
and-
congratulations. Welcome back.
Thank you. I think we have a problem with our computer system here. My husband's modem is got a problem.
Well, we've got a couple weeks to help you figure it out.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so you can
All
hear,
right.
her. They're all set now.
Great. So let's
Meeting I
move
can-
back to. Okay,
Go ahead.
Lori.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Let's move back to item number 1, election of the board officers and other appointments. If I recall, we had the opportunity in the past to, and I'm not saying that just because it was done in the past, it's the way we should do it. But I'd like to make a nomination for a position, and then we vote on that. Does anybody have a problem with that, or do they want to suggest a different method?
No, I think that's the way we do it.
Great. All right. The first position, let's see, Ross, at some point in here we go. The first position that we have is chairperson. So I would like to nominate Nick Psychopates as the chair. Does anybody have any other nominations? Okay.
No, I don't, I think that if Nick would like to be chair, I'm fine with Nick being chair.
Okay. Then let's I think we might need a formal vote.
Yes, we do.
We need
Okay.
a second. I would second that. I would second that.
Laurie's gonna second Nick for chair.
Okay, so is each selection more of a motion that's made and
Yeah.
seconded?
Yes,
Okay, so Margaret, I take it that you made the motion, right?
well, yes, I made the motion. So I say yes for Nick.
Okay,
That was my motion.
and Lori seconded it?
Correct.
Okay, and Lori? Your vote?
Yes, she did.
Yeah. Okay. Helio?
Yes.
Nick?
Well,
Yeah.
Nick
Can't
can't
say
vote.
no. So, and
Kevin,
Kevin is yes.
okay.
Congratulations, Nick.
I thank you and I'll do my best.
Congrats, Nick.
Ross, I'll be seeing you every Friday between 1 and 2 p.m. for a pre-game discussion.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Nick, do you want to nominate a vice chair?
I would love to nominate the vice chair. I'm going to nominate Lori Miller as a vice chair.
Okay.
You guys.
I will second that. Lori,
Okay.
is that something that you would like?
I will take it if nobody else wants it. Margaret, did you want it?
No, I don't want it.
Okay, then I'll be vice chair.
Okay. Nick has made a motion for Lori Ann Miller as vice chair, and seconded by Lori. Nick,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Margaret,
Yes,
Helio,
Yes.
and Kevin Estes, yes. The present clerk is Margaret Sweet. Is there a nomination for a change? Or Margaret, do you want to continue?
yeah, I'll continue as the clerk.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion.
Motion made.
Nick has made a motion for Margaret Sweet,
I'll second.
seconded by Helio. Nick,
Yes.
Helio,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Laurie says yes.
Margaret,
Yes,
and Kevin, yes. Okay, so we've got a board for the next year. Committees. The Serpid, I actually just kind of started that. I'm willing to continue it. Does anybody else want it?
it's all yours, Kevin.
Kevin,
Okay.
I'll stay. I'm willing to stay as your alternate.
Does anybody else want the alternate? Okay, we'll let those two stand. We have an opening for the Soil Conservation Board.
We have
Is
any idea
anybody
when they
that's-
meet?
Very seldom. Maybe once or twice a year.
I hate to be so juvenile, but do you have any idea if it's during the day or if it's in the evenings like our board?
I'm trying to think, when I was on that.
That's not juvenile, by the way, that's realistic.
I think they're at night because remember Joe Toomey used to be on it?
I think it is at night. I think it's at night, Nick. I think Laurie's right. It's at night.
It's up to you folks, if we want to confirm that, or can associate my name with it. I think most of you know that I'm not as flexible during the day as others, so that's my only concern, but if we think it's in the evening, then we can put my name on it for now.
The only thing is, Nick, when I was on it, sometimes you have to go out and see a property, but they work around your schedule. They've been very good with me. They worked around the schedule.
If we're looking for someone and nobody else wants to, I got to play a role in some of these because I haven't in the past. I'm happy to give it a shot. If there's a conflict, I'll be looking to someone else to be present for us, but.
If you can't do it, Nick, I'll do it after. Okay,
all right.
I'm sure we can find somebody to fill in if it becomes an issue.
right.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got consensus for Nick to be a representative on the Soil Conservation Board. Community Preservation Committee. Margaret, you're on that now?
Yes, I've been on that.
Is that something you want to keep?
If somebody else wants it, that's fine. If not, I'm happy to stay there.
Is there anybody else that is interested in the Community Preservation Committee? Margaret, sounds like it's yours.
Okay, I got it. All right.
Agricultural Preservation Trust Council. I have that seat. It doesn't meet. I don't think I've ever had a meeting yet. I did confuse it with an agricultural board and went to their meeting instead, which I found very illuminating. but it was the wrong meeting. But I can tell you that I've never had a Agricultural Preservation Trust Council meeting. I'm willing to keep it unless somebody else wants it.
Ask him if a letter was ever sent because that committee has to approve our appointment.
Okay, Kevin, Laurie says, wondering if a letter was ever sent to the Agricultural Preservation because they have to approve the person that is nominated to be on their board. So I don't think Kevin knows that. I don't think we'll have to go in the record and look because there's nobody here. Christine's gone. So I don't know who would have sent that. I don't know if Ross knows that or not.
I do not know of that. If it was just when we did the reorganization in the fall,
Yeah.
the smaller, we did a kind of a miniature version of this. I did
Right.
not send any letter. I was not aware of a letter that needed to be sent.
Okay, so Kevin, if you want to stay on there and Ross can send a letter and they approve you, you can be on there. It's up to you, Kevin.
Sure. Let's, Ross, if you don't mind sending a letter.
Sure. Yeah, I'll look into that.
Lincoln Park Plan Approving Authority.
Never had a meeting. Never had a meeting. I don't even know, I did talk one time to Mr. Delgado and he asked me about it because he wondered why there were no meetings. So I'm happy to stay on it. Now, Laurie, is that something we have to send a letter to?
No.
No, they just don't meet. That's it.
Okay, do you want to keep it?
Yeah, I'll keep it.
Okay, sold to you.
Thank you.
Charter Review Committee. I have Nick and excuse me, and Kevin. Me. I think that was a big appointment here for a prior board member simply because we were doing a charter review. I think if there's not a charter review, then that's a pretty benign place to be. Nick, do you want to keep it?
I'm okay with
Back you
staying
up.
there. Yeah.
Okay. Now the Dartmouth Open Space and Rec Committee, I thought that was me.
Yeah, that's not me. That was you, Kevin. I don't know why
Yeah.
my name's there. That's you.
Yeah. I will keep that unless somebody else wants it.
Nope.
My
Okay.
mistake. I must have put in the wrong name back then. I apologize for that.
No worries.
You're forgiven.
Thank you.
Sometimes that's how we reassign duties. Harbor Management Plan, Kevin Mello, the Implementation Committee, was the representing member there, and that is obviously vacant now. Do we have somebody who is interested in that?
I can do it, Kevin.
Okay.
Unless you want it, Nick.
No,
My name
I mean,
is not here enough time, so I want to be active and respective of everybody else's time and commitments to these committees.
It's totally up to you. I mean, I have a significant interest in the harbor and that side of town and functionally
That is
what's
true.
happening.
That is
Do
true.
you want to, if you want it, it's yours. Otherwise, in respect of what you're saying, do you want to replace my name on the Charter Review Committee with Kevin just because of your background?
Yes, I'm willing to do that. That's a
Mr.
good
Chair,
idea.
is that fine?
Approved.
Okay. All right, so we'll do that.
So Helio's going to be on the charter review?
With Kevin, yep.
All right.
And then Harbor Management, I'll get on that and find out when they meet and what the plan is.
Alternate board member.
Did you speak to Kevin Mello? Would he like to do that?
Let's continue the vote for alternate board member. I did not talk to Kevin.
Okay,
If you speak to Kevin and he says no, you can try Kathy Del Sordo. She's an ex-planning board member and she's been in the past.
and she likes
Okay.
to do it.
Great. I'll ask Kevin, and then if he is not interested in that, then Lori, I'll come to you and get some advice where to go next. So I think we're done.
Mr. Chair, if I can just add one quick comment. Just so we can follow up, the staff can follow up tomorrow. I'll check in with the selectman's office. The questions, from what I have notes for, was for the Soil Conservation Board, for time of meetings, and then if the Agricultural Preservation Trust Council is still an active committee, and I believe, was there any other?
Lincoln
board?
Park. Lincoln,
Well, if it's-
ask about
it-
Lincoln Park.
If it's active, and if it is active, then we're under the impression that they need to approve the representative from the planning board.
Can I chime in as well?
Sure.
Dan, if you don't mind, regarding soil, how do they notify us? Will it be via an email? I know their meetings are not necessarily on a regular schedule like ours. So am I looking for an email? Where am I going to be aware of the meeting? And then similarly, if you have any information or can get any information on who the contact person would be for the harbor management plan.
Okay.
All right. Is there any other discussion about the committees and boards?
Margaret, ask him if I can bring something up that was talked before. There's no vote on it.
Laurie wants to know if she could bring something up that was discussed before. What is it, Laurie?
Other boards talking about the planning boards.
Laurie wants to talk about other boards talking about the planning board.
Yeah.
Maybe, all right.
Well, yeah, we're open discussion right now. Since let's see, there is no chairperson's report, since I'm just sitting in for the purpose of this meeting. So I will cede some time to Lori, and yeah, if you have an open item you want to discuss, the floor is
Please,
yours.
it's very simple. About maybe 15 to 20 years ago, we had a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen, and a motion was made and passed that we were to meet with the Board of Selectmen twice a year to go over, where is the town? What are we doing? Where are we going? I would like to suggest that we set up a meeting with them again, because we haven't met for so many years, and discuss what our policies are, what our bylaws are that prevent us from doing certain things. I don't think they totally understand exactly what we have state and federal and bylaws that we have to go by, as well as our own, which were approved by town meeting.
I think just in terms of open discussion purposes, I hear that. It sounds like there's some opportunity there. That would be a chairperson to chairperson type of discussion, and I will leave it as an open discussion item now for the incoming chairperson, Nick, to pick up, and maybe that could be an item that he brings up during your chairperson's report.
Sure. happy
Sounds
to.
good.
Lori,
Thank you
can I share,
for
can I share
bringing that
something?
up. It's probably got lost in the handoff, Lori, and if it was voted on and passed that we do that, then we should be doing it.
Yeah, like I said, it was a long time. It was about 15 years ago and it got lost in the shuffle.
Okay,
And I think it's a good idea just so that they know what we are doing or what we're not doing. And I think it would alleviate some things.
open communication is good.
Can I share something, Mr. Chair?
You may.
Lori, the reason I planted that seed was the result of probably what we are both thinking and or some emotions that were throughout the town over the past couple of weeks. And I find it hard to accept that each board shouldn't fulfill its obligation, but respectively and cumulatively, we, the boards, should represent the town of Dartmouth, if you would, in a very uniform-like manner. And I just want to figure out what the gaps are and understand what the perspective is perhaps of one board compared to another, and better understand the bylaw and the word law versus guideline versus standard, and take out some of what's in question and or, no pun intended, being manipulated by one board or the other. So, and I think you feel the same way. And I'm happy to lead that starting as early as the next meeting.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So, planners report. We've already gone over that, and chairperson's report. Since there is none, I will entertain a motion.
Motion made that we adjourn.
And then I'll second.
I second that we adjourn, and thank you for putting up with my internet problems.
No worries, no worries. The motion was made by Nick. Yes,
Yes.
Nick, and seconded by Helio.
Yes.
Lori
Yes.
and Margaret
Yes.
and Kevin Estes. Yes. Have a good night, guys, and
Good night.
see you in a couple weeks.
Really
Night.
quick, it's not a couple of weeks though, correct?
That's April 28th.
The 28th.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.